Welcome to the Diana Wright Show Live. This is Thursday. My goodness, the days fly so fast when you're having good fun or when you're enjoying life. It seems to go so fast. But when things happen, when tragedy strikes, it seems to move so slow. And you're hoping that that day just ends. Something new happens in your life. And if you wait patiently, and if you go through that journey, and if you love yourself, I want to tell you that there's a light at the end of that tunnel that you're looking into. I want to start off today by talking about tragedy. And sometimes we simply just don't know how God is going to choose to bless us, the method He will use, the person He might use. It might be just someone you don't even like that brings the blessing to you. So tragedy, how we choose to deal with that tragedy in our lives, and as we get ready to welcome the launch and the presence of the Diana Wright book called Deadly Negligence. When you read it, you will come to realize that God has just journey for you that you will never even have in your plan. But if you do what you need to do, put all that you have in it, and leave nothing on the table. And the moment you're about to drop, He will show up. Because I guess we can look at the man that was blind in the Bible and the way Jesus chose to heal him. He didn't command the healing like, as T.D. Jakes says, He didn't command it like He would normally do with some of the miracles. The man had to go someplace else to get his healing. But not only did he have to go someplace else, what did Jesus do? He spat and rolled up some mud thing and put on his eyes? How many of us would like to be healed in that messy form? How many of us would have to go someplace else for our healing, our miracle? How many of us would want to leave where we are for that miracle, for that healing? Do we want to leave our comfort zone or we don't? But sometimes we must, and we have to, because we have to listen to that small voice in our hearts, in our souls, and in our spirit. And as I look at what happened yesterday at the Supreme Court and what happened on Tuesday at the Supreme Court, I thought about the people who feel they're now in their tragedy mode. So on Tuesday, with the Voting Rights Act, lots and the majority of minorities are feeling pretty blue. They just felt they were stabbed in the heart by the Supreme Court. And then you move to Wednesday, when DOMA, the Defense of Marriage Act, was killed, stabbed to death by the Supreme Court. I simply wonder, how is it that those two groups are going to deal with their tragedy as we watch as people? Because some of us will not get involved because, it doesn't really affect us. We don't have a gay child or we have our voter IDs and everything is good with us, so we're not going to get involved. But I simply want to watch to see how they deal, because in their minds, my tragedy, totally different. Their tragedy is their tragedy, because it doesn't matter what problem someone has. You can't say to them your problem is small, because to them it's really big until it gets sorted out. So hence I looked to God this morning and I just asked, how will my tragedy end eventually? Because it's not yet complete. My hope is that my book will become a movie. That is my hope, and that's what I put out in the universe. Yes. Deadly negligence, because it is deadly negligence. Yes. So how do these two groups of people, and of course it's gonna overlap, because some people who are happy about DOMA will help the people who are unhappy about the Voting Rights Act. And then it takes me to another thought and another question. How does 5 people have so much power to wield that they can affect millions of lives at one time? Either with their dissent argument or with the fact that they agree. Justice Kennedy was a star yesterday. On Tuesday, Ginsburg was the star in what she said. Scalia shined yesterday. Justice Thomas, he had a shining moment on Tuesday. So I simply wonder and ask you to think about this. Who gave them this power? The Supreme Court. Supreme, that big word. Why do they have this power to do what they do? Because the people who are against DOMA, they are hopping mad. Yes? And what we saw in Texas to stop the abortion bill from being signed, so that you can't have an abortion after 20 weeks or, whatever the details are. And that senator who stood up and did that filibuster, how many of us are willing to do what she did? How many of us are willing to get into that Capitol like all those thousands of people who shouted and shouted and shouted and shouted until midnight so the bill could not go through, because it had to be done before the session was officially over at midnight. And they were determined to get this done. And they did, and they were successful. And all the gay people who are very happy yesterday, and their families too, because if you have someone close to you or your family member, you look at things totally different. When things don't affect you, oh, it's so bad. Remember Senator Portman? Just think about that. So how do we choose to handle our tragedy? I don't know if you watched the movie Milk, which I did, and that's where that whole revolution started and gave these people the power. And the movie was written, I think, by his nephew, or he was a screenwriter. It was a very good movie. It was not just about homosexuality. The movie also showed his great talent. So I watched the movie and never thought that was the power underneath the drive. And of course the lawsuits that were filed by other individuals who were denied the ability or the convenience of getting married. And there's also another question. What is it about this getting married thing? Well, for those people, for the gay people, the gay community, it means that they're getting all the things that regular married people are entitled to. Like the elderly lady, she had to pay that $300 and something tax bill. And if she was married and the federal government actually recognized her marriage, then she would not have to do that. So it affects straight people and gay people. So gay people have now earned the right and the benefits. And I watched one young lady who said when her partner died in the service and came back and the death certificate said single, she was so hurt. So I will watch and I will see, and I hope that you will pay attention. Because Congress, in my estimation, and based on how they've behaved during the presidency of Barack Hussein Obama, has not been very good. They've blocked everything. So are they going to now drag their feet on the Voters Act? What do you think? Remember now, in 2006, it was renewed by President Bush with bipartisan support. Yes, it was. 2006 is just the other day. It's not that far away. So are these same Republicans who are busy, moving lines and drawing lines in communities so that they can have the advantage to win, and they're bringing out the voter ID law so that they know that black people don't have any IDs like that, and Hispanics, oh my God, they will not have any IDs either. So let's just get them out of the process, and the white people who can get to the polls and who would normally vote will get there. So that's the tragedy. The Voting Rights Act is a tragedy for minorities. But how many white people, who are good white people, who will help this process move in Congress? Have you thought about that? Now, if you are, like the average person like myself, and you have your IDs and you have nothing to worry about, are you just going to sit back and do nothing? Say nothing? Make no contribution? Make no phone calls? Nothing? What are you going to do? How are you going to do something? Because remember, this issue might not be yours, but there will be another one that affects you. So do we all, in order to solve our tragedy, whatever it is, whether it's DOMA, because you could see the conservatives and all the religious people, they were hopping mad yesterday. They were furious. You could see the fumes coming out of their ears. What are they going to do? Are they just going to take it? I don't think so. But can it be challenged because the Supreme Court said so? A marriage, according to DOMA, is between a man and a woman. But now there's no more federal DOMA. So, man and man, woman and woman can all be married and get all the same federal benefits that regular, married, heterosexual people do get. Well, how do we come to common ground about all these issues? And how are they solved? I truly believe that there should be cameras at the Supreme Court so we can see what they do and what they say and their body language and how they say it. I am just tired of the artistic sketches and the audio. I want to see you. Because, I truly don't care if someone is even going to apologize to you and they do it on the phone or they do it by text or whatever. You need to look in those eyes and see that they truly mean that apology. and can tell you why they're apologizing. Are they truly sorry? Yes, you can look in their eyes and know. So are we now at the starting point? We should all be getting on the wagon of saying, when the Supreme Court is in session, we should have cameras to see. Just like C-SPAN has Congress and the Senate, you can go to C-SPAN and see what they do. Understand what they do, how they do it, who says what, and who acts as if they didn't say that, but it's on C-SPAN, so they can't say they didn't say it because it's there. And why do we put so much power in the hands of 5 people? Because most of the times, everything that's, ruled on in the Supreme Court is 5-4, 5-4, 7-2, so it's just about 9 people with all the power in the world. Wow. That's a wow moment for me. I thought about it so much since yesterday and Tuesday. How do we give so much power to 9 people? We already know that Scalia is not a liberal. We know that Kennedy is a liberal, but he kind of goes both ways. Ginsburg is liberal. Sotomayor is liberal. So name them. Clarence Thomas. Who is Clarence Thomas? Do you know? Well, for now, we got to put him in the conservative, not so sure box. Because I don't think he knows who he really is. Does Clarence Thomas, Justice Clarence Thomas, love who he is? Because the same affirmative action that I'm sure he benefited from that, he's about to want to kill it. How do we do things like that? How do we benefit from something and then try to cut it out of the foot of someone else who actually needs it? I don't know. But for the Voting Rights Act, we'll have to wait and see what Congress does. But I promise you, anything to do with DOMA, Prop 8, or anything to do with the gay community, they will be on it because they're passionate about this. Lots of them lost their family members and they never lived to see yesterday. So their passion is burning. Are we going to have the same passion burning for the Voting Rights Act to get through Congress the way it should, without stamping on the rights to vote of minorities? Lots of people died for that to happen. So what do we do now? Section 5 and Section 4. How do we get it back? Especially Section 5 of the Voting Rights Act. Incredible to watch. So we start off with tragedy, and we just simply wonder where you end up with your tragedy. For me, my tragedy is still in its miraculous working stage. I managed to have penned a book called Deadly Negligence, which will be out next week on Amazon. Hopefully it will be on Amazon on Tuesday next week. And as I hope that someone somewhere will think the story is merited to be turned into a movie so people can actually see and not just read, because there's nothing greater than television and the fact that you can see what happened. It takes you there. Because even in the Zimmerman Trayvon Martin trial, you see that the prosecutor used his magic of words to bring the jury and all of us to the scene of the killing. And then they brought what? The pictures to show you the body. So your imagination no longer has to imagine, you see. And that's the reason I love television. Radio is wonderful, but television gets you to see. And so I moved to Paula Deen. Because when I saw the clips played over and over yesterday about her visit to Matt Lauer on the Today Show, is she crying? Well, I really didn't see any tears. I saw the motions of crying. Was she crying because she's lost Walmart, Home Depot, Caesar's Palace, Smithfield Farm, the Cooking Network, the Cooking Channel, whatever, Food Channel, and maybe Kmart and Sears, and maybe QVC? Is she crying about that? And her statement about if you have never said something that you want to take back, pick up a stone and throw it at her head and hit her so she dies? That's a little overkill drama for me. So how sympathetic are you to Paula Deen? I truly am not sympathetic, because when people truly have racist thoughts in their hearts, it comes out. You can't hide it. It eventually comes out. It might not come out on the television show, but it will come out with the people who are close to you and around you every single day. And all her celebrity friends are defending her, and some are not, and all that kind of stuff. But one of the things I will give Paula Deen credit for is the fact that she was brave enough to say, I said nigger. I did. So we have to give her credit for some things, because she's admitting it. Her brother Bubba, ooh, he's, Mr. Big Man, won't even speak to the press. Bubba's, she talked about Bubba a lot in her program. But there are so many other people out there who feel the same way Paula Deen feels, but they're not brave enough to admit it. And my challenge and my question to each and every one of us today: why are we hating anyone, for that matter? None of us made our color. We came out of our mother's vajayjays looking the way we look. Some of us were very light when we were born, but then we get our proper color. Let's put it that way. Some of us came out really dark. Some of us came out truly, truly light. And some of us were really light, because, that white thing, nobody's really white, because if you put white to a piece of paper, as my daughter corrected me one day when she was very young, like 5 years old, nobody's this color. They're just light-skinned. So she told me that early. Why can't we just love each other for who we are? I don't have to invite you over to dinner, but I truly don't need to hate you because you're black, or because you're Hispanic, or because you're an immigrant. Why do I need to do that? I don't need to do that. Hence, I ask you, why can't we just love, give love, receive love, like people, and stop the hate? If you're rich, and if you're Paris Hilton, and you're so fortunate that your grandfather started these chains of hotels, why should you hate me or think you're better than me because I don't have what you have? Why do we do that? Because it's because we do that, and it's because of the atmosphere that we grow up in. Like in the Caribbean, they have this class thing. You're either uptown or downtown, ghetto or not ghetto. Which may not be as bad, because if you're in the Caribbean and you're black or white or green and you have some moolah, lots of moolah, people gonna love you anyway. But here it seems no matter how much money you have, who you are, it's all a segregation of groups. Whites over here, Spanish people over there, Italians over there, Caribbean people over here, and the Caribbean people, they are chopped up, Jamaicans don't like Caymanians, and they don't like Trinidadians, and they don't like Bajans, you know. And if you're a high color Caribbean person or a dark skinned person, and Cubans don't, oh my goodness. And then within the African community, African American community, you have another whole structural thing going on there, because if you're light skinned, the black people who have dark skin, they don't think you're black enough. Even though you had nothing to do with how you look or who you are. You came out of your mother's belly through the passage of her vajayjay to be the person that you are. And if not, they slice a little hole in your tummy, and they take the baby out. A C-section, you know. So they do that C thing. That's why it's called a C-section. So my challenge to each and every American and everyone around the world, whether you're in France or Poland or Iceland or the US, why can't we just agree to live and love? Am I living on Denial Street in Hope Garden? Or am I living in the clouds? Because that's what I would love to see. And I don't like when white people tell me, oh, I have some black friends. Are those friends at your parties? Are they at your house hanging out with you, you know, talking, doing things? No. Come on, people. When are we going to see the signs that we are one people? And unity is strength, and oneness is greatness. Because if we continue to have our little pockets of things going on in our own different little cultures, we're never getting too far. And if we all claim that we're such Christians, we're all one in the eyes of God through his son Jesus, aren't we? So we're Christian, but we go to the white church and they're all white people and I'm the only black person there. Or I go to the black church and I'm the only white person there. Or I go to the Indian church. Do you know they have Indian churches, Chinese churches? Oh my gosh. Wow. Is this ever going to change? Well, we can hope it will. But if you think in the reality of things, it doesn't look like it will ever change. Because since the president has won in 2008 and then won again in 2012, my God, the racism is back to the surface. I feel like I'm in the 60s of the America I heard about, because I never experienced it. Do we want to go back there? Or do we want to stay in the 2013 era and move forward? Like the Obama slogan said for the campaign. Can we just move forward? Please? Please stop the hate. It's majorly hate, but sometimes it's envy and jealousy too, because a lot of the people who hate Barack Obama, they just wish it was them that was there. And do you really want to be the president? Oh my gosh. Don't you see how gray he is? How old he looks in comparison to when he started in 2008? Yeah, there's some perks. You know, I watched a program on, I think it was the History Channel over the weekend, and they were telling you all the perks and all the security and all the things that the president has and access to this that you and I don't have. Is that, I don't know if I necessarily want that. I just want to know that I am treated fairly and I'm not hated because of the color of my skin. And you have black people that are racist too. Don't forget that. It's not just white people who are racist. There are some black people who just hate white people. And that should not be condoned either. So whichever way you have the racism going, it should not be condoned. We should all be thinking as one people and for the good of each and every one of us. Now, there's always going to be someone who's richer, and there's always going to be someone who's poor. We see that because it's in the Bible. And we can try to stop poverty And we must continue to try to stop it and stop hunger and all those things. But will we be successful? Because we see that there's nothing new under the sun, as my mom likes to say. So please, can we just use the word love a little more often? I write it in caps all the time. I'm going to do that on my Twitter page. Love, love, and more love. Please. Stop the hate. And let us try to do some more love. And if you have thoughts and feelings like Paula Deen did and is sorry that she did, and maybe because she lost all the money now. But she'll come back. Her book sold lots of books yesterday, despite all the scandal, because her supporters went out and bought 10 books each. So, please, more love, less hate, more self-love. Remember what the young singer said. Black people are programmed to hate themselves. Let's deprogram that. White people are programmed to hate black people. Let's deprogram that. Let us try to move in one accord. And I tell you what, I want to play. How many Jesuses do we have that we pray to when we go to church on Sunday or Saturday? Is it one Jesus? Or is it two? Or is it three? I thought it was one. So one. Oneness is greatness and unity is strength. Welcome to the Diana White Show from around the world and in the United States. I truly thank you so much for joining me today. And I truly hope that something I say will inspire you, encourage you, pull you out of whatever state you're in, and give you the push you need to do what you need to do. We all know what our responsibilities are. Sometimes we just don't want to face it. Okay, so we kind of moving on in the news now. And I wonder how many of you thought that Congressman Weiner just went into the wilderness and will not return. And I just think there has to be some smart kid out there that can get rid of these ads. I wish I was one of those people who are, so technically inclined that I can figure out a way to get rid of all the ads, unless it's your ad, when you're streaming something live. I wish there is some smart kid out there, like the kid in England who came up with Tumblr, that will figure out a way to tumble the ads out of your streaming so you're not disturbed when you're saying something important. So you thought that Anthony Weiner, former Congressman Anthony Weiner from New York, had died? No! Guess what he's doing right now? He's leading in the polls in the mayoral race in New York City. Because it seems like that was always his dream, but look at the way he got there. He was supposed to get there smoothly when his district was redrawn, and there would be no longer a need for a congressman for that district. And then he wanted to be the mayor. He said that several times. But no, he decided that he was going to be enjoying the compliment of a young woman who seduced him into believing he is such a handsome, hot guy because he made that wonderful speech on the floor of the House of Representatives. I watched the speech. So there was some beautiful young woman out there who decided that she will tweet him and tell him how wonderful and sexy and all that good thing he was. And my God, how many times in his life did he hear that? So he got sucked in. And then he decided to send her nude pictures on Twitter or Facebook. And then he decided to do what? Lie. That's the reason you should never lie. If he had come out when that first picture came because there was a guy in the background trying to destroy him. Remember that guy? Don't lose him. He's over here. He should have come out when he realized it broke. Yes, I did it. But I did it because my nose is so long, or my face is so skinny, or I feel so insecure. And as a child, I never got many compliments, or in high school, I never got so many compliments. So when this young lady decided to tell me how hot I was, oh my goodness, I could not resist. Personally, I think the scandal would have died there. But he lied. So people, when you do something, own it. And then take the consequences that come. I miss him in Congress because he was one of those people who were keeping Congress on their toes. And even though we knew he wanted to be mayor of New York City, he was doing his job at the time. And I guess that's why the young woman was so enamored with him. So impressed by him. So she's to blame too. It's not just him. She seduced him. And how many men can resist compliments from a beautiful woman? How many men can really do that? I don't think there are any. Catch a guy in his low point or his insecure point and just tell him how gorgeous he is and how his muscles turn you on and all that kind of good stuff, and see what happens. I told you so. So Mr. Weiner, we welcome you back, and I certainly hope he wins because he is a good politician. I don't even think he should have resigned anyway. I've said that before on this show. But because he lied, he had to resign. Don't lie. Own up to what you do. Face the consequences like Mr. Snowden, who has stolen the property of the United States, the NSA in particular, and gone away to do his thing. And he said he didn't want to be the story. Is he really that stupid that he didn't think he was going to become the story? Come on, Mr. Snowden. Who are you trying to fool? You planned this all. Maybe that's the reason you took the job in the first place. Because I cannot imagine you are going to go to Hong Kong and speak to the reporter, Mr. Greenwald, and his cohort, and tell me you didn't think you were going to become the story? You sound like Paula Deen trying to tell me that you didn't know the nigger word was offensive. Stop it. And I wish we would stop playing this out in the pulpit, in the public eye. I said the pulpit, I'm thinking of ministers. Because some ministers do, they go to the pulpit and play things out and they really shouldn't. And let the government of the United States, the government of Russia, and the government of Ecuador, which I'm not liking Ecuador right now, let them deal with the thing quietly and get a resolution. Instead of us trying to chase reporters from Hong Kong to Russia to Cuba to Ecuador. We just need to get a life. And Americans, we really do not need to know all the details all the time. I am here to tell you that. You just do not need to know all the classified information. Yes, you need to know the things that are going to protect the people. But you don't need to know the details. And if it's classified, that's the reason for the word classified. In the name of freedom of the press, we just want to know too much. Ouch. Anyway, Senator, what is his name? Donald Issa? Is that his name? He has absolutely no credibility anymore. So I tell you what, Mr. Issa, just go take your Senate seat and shut up. Because when you choose to manufacture things because you hate President Barack Hussein Obama, it doesn't look good. So the IRS scandal that you were trying to pin on Obama, because it wasn't in the White House, you know. He wanted to pin it on Obama, then try to impeach Obama. That was his aim. But there's something called divine intervention, if you do believe in that. Some people don't, and it's okay. You don't have to believe in everything. Mr. Issa, this is not his first time. I don't think it's the second either. And Mr. Issa has his own skeletons in his closet. So Mr. Issa, I don't know, is that a toupee Mr. Issa is wearing, or is it just his own hair at the top there? It's got to look toupee to me. So next time you see Mr. Issa, I want you to pay close attention to the top of his head in the front and tell me if it is a toupee or not. And that's the reason you have to respect the Donald, you see, because he don't deal with the toupee thing. He just combs over the thin hair and covers it up like all of us women who lose our hair as we get older. Or when we have children and we have an abundance of hair, and then after they're born, the hair just goes and goes and goes. So anyway, have you noticed that the Eiffel Tower in Paris is closed? And workers are on strike? I didn't know that could happen. I thought the Eiffel Tower, as I know it, is open 365 days a year. But they are on strike for what? Salary raises, company profit sharing policies, and other issues. The 124-year-old tower normally opens 365 days a year. I was correct, with about 25,000 tourists daily. It occasionally closes because of suicide threats, bomb threats, or, in this case, a strike. So if you are in Paris and you took your vacation in June and you're there and you're going, oh, wow, I can't get to go in. Well, I've been in there and, you know, it's okay. It's just some steel and you go up, and if you're scared of heights, don't try to look down, you know. But you miss it because it's an experience that you should, but don't feel too bad. You can go back next year because I'm sure they'll have their stuff ironed out. Or you should go in the fall when it's cheaper to go to Paris in the fall. Yeah? So let's keep that in mind. Okay. Alrighty. And as I talked about Paula Deen earlier, did you know that Kate Gosling, I think that's a woman that, yeah, she's actually the woman that had those 8 kids, and then she and her husband split up because he was cheating and all that kind of stuff. She went on her Twitter page, put something on her head, and started to do this eye thing that indicates she's Asian. And people are just calling it a racist move. But I personally believe that she was just trying to get her name back in the media because nobody has heard of her in a while. So celebrities, quote unquote celebrities, they do weird things sometimes to get noticed. And I just think that was one of Kate's stunt to get some notice and her name back in the media. But the media is not really biting, you know. So get a life, Kate. Anyway, a suggestion that I do have too is for some of those congressmen who need to go and read the Constitution. Because if you're defending the Constitution, you need to actually read it and know what it says. There's a young congressman I heard saying some things, and I thought, does he know what he's talking about? He needs to go read the Constitution, yes. So please. And all of us Americans should actually try to read the Constitution and understand it, so that when these politicians come with these big words, especially the Republicans, you know, they like to throw the Constitution around and the amendments around, you know, and Amendment 14 and, you know, Constitution this, and oh my God, if you call them and give them a test on the Constitution, they will fail. I promise you that. Remember Jeb Bush in Florida with the FCAT? He couldn't even pass the FCAT. The FCAT that they were giving to seniors and the students in the middle school and high school. They couldn't even pass it. Now they're giving it to elementary kids. But I gather that the FCAT will be no more. Yes, So parents, you can start rejoicing in Florida if your young one is going to be relieved of the FCAT. But they're coming with something else, so don't get too happy. I'm sure they are. And that might be just harder. You never know. Okay. All right. I found something quite interesting online, and I must share this with you because I think this is actually and I'm going to write wow on it, because that is a definite wow story for tomorrow morning with Dax. There are things we eat in the United States that are banned in most other countries around the world. So welcome to you from around the world and in the United States. We thank you so much for joining us. This is the Diana Wright Show live. And of course, what are we going to ask you to do? I want you to love yourself. I want you to remember. What do I want you to remember? I want you to simply remember that if you love yourself first, all other things seem to come into play. When you love yourself. When you love yourself, you're confident, you have self-esteem, you're strong enough to do what you need to do to get out of what you're into. Because we all get there. It's how we get out of there that's important. And April 30th, 2014 is the day that I'm asking you to keep in mind. Because that's a day I want you to love yourself more than you love yourself during the year, because I want you to do it every single day, but this is a special day. April 30th, 2014. Remember, we started it April 30th, 2013. And now that we're up to 167 shows or 165 shows, by the time we go on hiatus on Tuesday, we'll be up to almost 170 shows or more. We need to take a break and come back fresh. So I'm going to do that. Just like all the television shows, even talk shows. They go on hiatus, they regroup, and they come back and join you to give you more information, more education, more uplifting stuff, and more encouragement to love yourself. And do go on my website and look at my t-shirts. They will do you an abundance of good. Everyone that has bought one of those t-shirts, when they wear it, it always seems to create a conversation with someone else. So check it out. It will do your heart good. And also, I'm asking you to like me on Facebook. And if you'd like to be a sponsor of the show, let me know. If you want to be a partner of the show, let me know too. And how about just advertising on the show, and so we can get rid of those silly ads that comes up for other people. Yeah. October 5 is another good day. I'm not going to be able to tell you much about it after Tuesday because I'm not going to be here. So I'm reminding you every single day that October 5 is the party of the year, the white fundraising party being put on by Save a Life Jamaica Foundation. And we ask you, if you can make it, please go online and make a donation to the foundation so you can say you did some good for someone else who's less fortunate. It does your heart good when you do good for others. And then August 5 is another good day for people 490. Judith is having what's called customer service seminar. Yeah. And that will happen August 3rd from 9 to noon. And then at 1 to 2, she'll have what's called a business etiquette hour. So you can check it out. It will do you some good. I don't care how much you know, you can learn something new. Just in case, because you see, we're going to have to start exporting our talent. Go to Australia. Through the internet, you don't necessarily have to go there. Just tap into Australia to sell your goods. And China. And India. And all those other big countries. Brazil, they're having major issues right now. Because the people feel like they are not being taken care of. Egypt is having their own set of demonstrations. One big one to come this Sunday. President Obama has gone to Africa, but Africa is so unsettled. Turkey is having major unrest. Now, you know that if these two Supreme Court justices, Voter Registration Act and DOMA, if it was anywhere else in the world, there'd be massive people in the street. You know that, right? But Americans deal with their issues in a different way, more quiet. Unless you're in the Tea Party and you go out with your big old sign saying nasty things about the president. That's a different story. Anyway, I'm going to tell you about the things we eat in the United States, and they're banned. I say banned in other countries. Farm-raised salmon. And I would say not just salmon, but farm-raised fish, period. They're fed with something called canthaxanthin. Canthaxanthin. Can you spell it? It's spelled can-thax, T-H-A-X-A-N, and thin, T-H-I-N. It's a chemical to make, you know, that nice pinky orange color that farm-raised fish has. They want it to look like the one that comes from the wild. That's why it's so cheap, and the one that comes from the wild seems so expensive. So I was told at a time by someone, stay away from farm-raised fish. So here we go. We have it. That's the name of the chemical that they're fed to give them their color. Hawaiian papaya. So if you are eating papayas from Hawaii, they're genetically modified to prevent what's called ring spot, part of the quote-unquote smart crop that can withstand diseases, droughts, and floods. Well, this was something that Secretary of State Kerry spoke about, and people are not very happy with him for making that statement. Doped meat, and I said doped as in doped, contains ractopamine, okay? Ractopamine, if I say it quickly, ractopamine. Ractopamine, that's what it contains. That's a muscle enhancer that is banned in several countries. Hence, Russia has banned U.S. red meat and pork only February of this year, February 2013, because of dope meat and this ractopamine. I'm not saying another word, I'm just reading them to you and allow you to make your own decisions as to what you eat and what you don't eat. Okay. Brominated vegetable oil. I did say brominated. B-R-O, brominated vegetable oil. Otherwise known as BVO. It's in things like Mountain Dew, Fresca, but PepsiCo decided to take it out of Gatorade. So I don't know why they took it out of Gatorade and it's still in Mountain Dew. You can find out for yourself. Now there are the colors and dyes that parents are mad about that are in kids' cereals and you know, things like those the boxes of mac and cheese and those things that have what's called red 40, yellow 5 and 6, and blue 2. Should you be eating those things with those dyes? There's a group of mothers right now that are really putting the feet to the fire for those cereal companies. So those are the dyes that you need to look for. Red 40, yellow 5 and 6, and blue 2. Not Bluetooth, blue, the number 2. Okay, here's one that's really a little troubling. They're all troubling anyway, but arsenic, it's fed to chickens. So for all of us who love chicken, curry chicken, roast chicken, fricassee chicken, whatever kind of chicken, baked chicken, arsenic is in the chicken. And why do they put arsenic in the chicken, you might ask? To increase the weight, and it also requires less feed. And it gives the chicken a healthy glow, and it also treats the parasites. Oh my goodness, I think Dax is going to love this story tomorrow. Oh boy. And then here comes another one. It's called potassium bromate or bromate. Added to bread, and here's what it does to the bread. To make the dough hold together and rise higher. Hence you get a bigger bread. It can cause kidney damage, tumors, cancer, and damage to the nervous system, thyroid tumors, and it is classified by the Cancer Research Agency as a carcinogen. It's carcinogenic. So you might want to keep that in mind. There's also another thing called olestra or olein. And these are fat substitute found in fat-free chips. And they're saying that research was done and rats who ate products with olein, they gained weight. So if you're eating them chips, maybe that's the reason you're gaining weight. Okay, there's BHA, which simply means butylated hydroxynitrosol. So if you see that on the products you're buying, you might want to be aware. And there's BHT, which is butylated hydroxytoluene. Those words are big and hard to pronounce, but you get the idea. Please look for them when you're buying your products. I'll have that in my wow story tomorrow. I'll hear what Dax has to say about them. Maybe he can explain them a little better for us. And maybe he can tell us we don't have to be scared of chickens. I don't know. Farm-raised chicken, raised on the farm or in your backyard. I don't think you have any arsenic. I used to raise chickens in my backyard when I lived in Jamaica. And those were the best chicken I ever ate. It reminded me of my childhood when my grandmother they used to just get that chicken, put the body underneath that pan and go chop. And the chicken is cooked and it tastes so much different from the chicken that you get in the supermarket. I don't know why. Maybe Dax can tell me why tomorrow. Whoa. Yes. And this evening at the 8 o'clock hour, we have Dax with us again, and we're going to talk about men's issues. And I have tons of things that we need to talk about because we didn't do it last Thursday because Dax was away. He was back, but I thought he needed some rest. And I was preparing for Friday, my college day at Friday. So we are going to ask you to join us this evening at 8. And all the men out there, please, I am pleading with you to join the conversation on Thursday evenings to let women hear your voices. They want to know what you think, what you want, what you need, what you're afraid of. Why is it that when we ask you, what are you feeling? You have none. Or do you have something to say? No, you have nothing to say. Or what's your goals and your dreams? Why don't you guys have any goals and dreams? Do you just operate in osmosis or what? I want to know. So maybe you should educate us at the 8 o'clock hour this evening on the Diana Wright Show Live. Dax, of course, will join me. Sometimes Vanya joins us too. That's his significant other. So do join us and be part of the conversation. Tell a friend. Spread it on Facebook. Go on Facebook and tell everybody to join the show this evening. Because it's the last Thursday before hiatus. So, are you going to call? you better call. Oh my goodness, it's almost time to get out of here. But I wanted to point out about something. Road rage. Have you noticed that road rage is just getting out of hand? People are coming out of their cars, attacking the other car, beating the other car. Do they think they're in England or they are in Egypt or what? Oh my goodness. People, when you're in your car and you think someone has done you wrong, please do me a favor. Hold your head straight. Do not look to the right. Do not look to the left. Do not try to fix your children. Do not try to get your cell phone. Just drive. And act as if you're not even seeing the person that's trying to bang your window out. Keep on moving. Don't get into a fight with crazy people because they're crazy. That's why they're doing what they're doing. Because for someone to jump out of their car to attack you because they think you did a bad thing as a driver or you stopped them from going where they wanted to go fast enough. Because do you know that drivers get aggravated when you drive slow and they're behind you trying to go? My advice, just leave your house 5-10 minutes earlier. And ladies, stop doing your makeup in the car. There's a day that's going to come that someone is going to hit you in the back and you poke your eye out. So you need to stop doing that. Get up a little earlier, or when you get to work, make sure you're a little early so you can go to the ladies' room and finish your makeup. Please, please do that for me. And my diabetic friends who are out there, and those who I don't even know who are diabetic, don't think I've forgotten the challenge. It's 2 Wednesdays now. Wednesday, and then the Wednesday Dax was out is when we started it. Don't think I've forgotten. Please, no carbs, no sugar. Tell me how you feel. What's your results after 21 days? I'm going to count the days. I think it should be 21 by now. So I'm going to make sure I remind you before I leave for hiatus on Tuesday. Because Tuesday morning will be my final show before I go on hiatus and regroup and come back with some things. Hope I can find some interesting people to join me on the show that will just inspire you and, make you think good things and love yourself and be magical about the whole life thing. Because life can be wonderful and it can be beautiful, Stop the road rage, people. Grow up. Ho, ho, ho. And did you hear about the story of the $1.2 million that was stolen from the Swiss Air plane that was leaving Zurich to New York City, Kennedy's airport? So there was lots more money in there, in the tune of 48 million. This money was going to the Federal Reserve, and I think that location that they were going to was in New Jersey, because that's a location that they do store their funds. Yeah. I don't know if you needed to know that, but it was online, so I figured I could say it, and I wasn't sure it was even supposed to be said. But anyway, someone decided to help themselves to $1.2 million of the money. The Port Authority is investigating, but I truly would like to meet that person and ask, how stupid are you? Do you think you're going to take $1.2 million out of 48 million and nobody catches you? It might take them some days, but maybe you gotta lay low. Somebody watched some of those movies. There were 2 movies, I think, that were made about money being stolen from, money that was going to the Federal Reserve or money that was supposed to be so secured and someone got away. And they actually just punched a hole in one of the boxes, the containers that had the money, and took out 1.2 million. I guess they figured that was enough to live off for the rest of their lives. Are they truly thinking they're not going to be caught? I can't imagine that. Because whatever you do in the dark, remember I told you it comes out in the light. Eventually, it comes out. So whomever that person is that stole that $1.2 million or persons, it might be more than one person, I don't know. Maybe there was a lookout person. And one person who actually took the money out. And maybe there were 3 people who one person maneuvered opening up the box or something. Or punching the hole in the box. So can you imagine that? Wow. I cannot imagine that happened. And why take 1.2 million instead of the 48 million? Wouldn't it be better if you took all of it than to risk your life for just a little portion of it? Those are my questions. See, I like to ask crazy questions, and I like to just plod and think and wonder about things. So, do you want to see cameras in the courtroom of the Supreme Court? Just like we're watching the trial of Zimmerman and it's live and you can see all the action. And that young lady that the defense is grilling and trying to tie her up and make her say what she doesn't really want to say. I don't know, are they getting anywhere with this? How is it really profiting the defense attorney for going at this young 19-year-old girl, poking her and making her cry, and oh my God. I just wonder, it seems just like their opening statement. That was a knock-knock thing. Who's there? And then the prosecutor had such an emotional thing opening that took you right to the scene of the crime. So I'm not so sure why they're grilling her so much. I think they want to discredit her because she told a little lie. You see, I told you, don't lie. Please don't tell lies. It's not good. It comes back to catch you. So when she lied about the fact that she was in the hospital and why she didn't come, and I think she cleared herself. She simply just didn't want to see the body. And you feel responsible and guilty when you are the last person that spoke to someone who got killed. Basically, if the phone did not get disconnected, because imagine if that phone, because sometimes you drop your cell phone and it's still hearing what's going on, it's not disconnected. What if that had happened? And she could have heard everything. As a young woman, that must affect her. And I hope the jury actually sees that, because that is true. If you are the last person that saw someone before they died, my golly, you feel so bad, and to know that you were not able to go and help save the person. So I'm not so sure why the defense is doing what they're doing, but they're defense lawyers, so they know what they're doing, we hope. Okay, we're going to have to leave it there today. You know, we're truly going to have to leave it there today. You're going to like the way you look. Can I leave that story out? No, I can't. You're going to like the way you look. I'm going to talk to Dax about that for the Wow Friday, because I am not liking the fact that you start a company, it's your baby, and then boom, someone can come and fire you. Especially if it's a guy who you handpicked to be your CEO and he rallies against you to get you fired. But remember those words. You're going to like the way you look. I guarantee it. Well, what am I going to say about that? I'm going to say you're going to love yourself. I guarantee it. By the time I am finished with this Diana Wright Show, you will love yourself. I guarantee it. In the name of who? Jesus. Yes. So thank you so much for joining me today. If you love something, set it free. If it comes back, it's yours. If it doesn't, it was never yours. Have a great day. Be blessed, and see you at the 8 o'clock hour for Men Speak with Dax Dunn and Diana Wright. We'll be here this evening at 8. So as I say, adios, ciao, and au revoir. Be blessed, and hope you love yourself the way I want you to. 3 little words. I love me. Dooby dooby doo. Be dooby 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 dooby.